We are moving to a topic that many, I think, especially people like me in the middle part of the country, don't necessarily associate with climate change, but we should, as Anna Liljedahl is going to show us. Anna is an associate scientist at Woodwell Climate Research Center, and she lives in Homer, Alaska. And she's going to talk to us about geohazards. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, I'm here in Homer on the Nina lands. Yes, if we do not prepare for climate warming geohazards in Alaska, the damages are estimated to be in the billions. And that is just the dollar value. That does not consider the value of the well-being that might be reduced. So I think a really important piece here is that for federal funds to become available to Alaska communities, not just for emergency, the reactive phase, but also for the preparedness, we need to make sure that Alaska communities are eligible for these federal funds. So that means that we need to go beyond the economic dollar-based cost and benefit analysis framework, because a lot of Alaska communities does not meet that criteria. So I know there's work in progress there, so that needs to continue. And on the top of the list that has been identified is flooding, but permafrost thaw is number 2. So that starts with that. Erin. 80% of Alaska is underlain by permafrost, and that it is warming and it is already thawing. It's causing damage to roads and infrastructure buildings. It's eroding our coastal shorelines. And here, we really need to develop practices, engineering practices that have regulations and that are specific for these cold regions, and how to design buildings and communities in general to make them more, so they can pass through the warming climate in a safer way. And one idea, for example, we have flood insurance, but there's nothing called permafrost thaw insurance. And I think here it's also important to provide solutions, working together from the federal government, state government to the community level, and find solutions that works for the communities in both building techniques and relocation solutions here. And Alaska Cold Climate Housing Research Center is one great resource in the topic here. Next. The projected climate for Alaska shows that we will have more severe weather extremes, that there will be more common and have longer time duration. And these include drought, so low precipitation periods, which will result in more fire and more intense fire in places that we might not have seen as often before. Also water shortages. So here we need to make sure that we prepare for this new fire system. And also, we also make sure that communities have looked over and reviewed their water supply, that it's meeting the new weather regime in the future. And it's already been experienced in communities in Alaska. Next one. And then we have flooding. So it's interesting here because we're expecting here and already seeing longer drought periods, but we're also expecting to have more severe extreme rain events. And here is from Haines in Alaska this December. And here we really need to update our flood maps with the projected precipitation changes. Relying only on historical data is no longer enough. It's not sufficient. We need to think about what is the new normal. Next. And then we have a new and emerging hazard here, landslides, and also landslide generated tsunamis. And this is a hazard that's emerging, and we do not have a warning system for it. We have a tsunami warning system for earthquake triggered tsunamis, but not for landslide generated tsunamis, which can be much more dramatic and impact local communities much more severely than earthquake induced tsunamis. And these are expected to become more common because we have this increased severity and amount of rain. And we also have melting of glaciers and thawing of permafrost that creates these unstable slopes that used to be protected held back by the glaciers or also held together by the permafrost that's now thawing. So number one, we need to know where are these unstable slopes. We need to have an inventory across the state. Also, we need to implement a monitoring and warning system for the state. And that needs to be developed together with the people on the ground. So it works for the very communities that are at risk. And another thought is to really address this hazard. NOAA and USGS needs to work together. And right now there are separate branches in the federal government. So perhaps their collaboration could be enhanced, supported by putting them together under the Department of Interior. Thank you.